Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Nick for part 2 of starting a band, getting a band together. So if you haven't checked out the first video, you might want to look at that first. It goes into a little more in depth about, it covers like the basics about why you might want to start a band and the first few things that you might want to think about before you start getting members. Today, we're going to talk about trying to find other band members and where to find them, how to find them, and what to do when you find them. First of all, there's a few different places you can go to find them. You can go online. If you're in the United States over here, you can go to like Craigslist. Facebook user groups have a lot of things. Word of mouth is always good. If you have like a local newspaper or some kind of a meetup group. Music stores are actually pretty good because they usually have a lot of flyers in music stores. In any case, it's always good to see what other bands are out there and what they're looking for because you might find the perfect one for you before you even bother starting your own. Second thing real quick I want to talk about is band size. Before you start getting an elaborate thing about I want this 10-person band and a 3-person horn section and all this stuff, you have to think about a few things about big bands. My opinion is that I always want the smallest number of people possible to actually get the sound out, like 3, 4, maybe 5 if you have to push it. And here's why. If you have a smaller band, it's easier to find people. It's easier to get together, coordinate things, especially if you have somebody who's got kids or family or a job. You start getting more people, it's harder to get schedules that sync together. So it's a lot harder to get practice schedules, a lot harder to get rehearsal schedules, a lot harder to get band meetings together, a lot harder to get gigs where you can all meet on the same night or the same day and actually play shows that you're all available for. The more people you have, the less likely it is for you to be able to like sync together. Another part that small bands are good, there's less stuff to move around, there's less stuff to set up. Practices and rehearsals are shorter. You don't have as many people all getting together and inevitably somebody is late or can't make it. So nice small bands, tight bands are usually much better to manage. Another part you can think about, there's less personalities to deal with. People that are in bands and people that are musicians can be kind of, they can be kind of a little bit flaky or a little very artsy, and they're kind of a little hard to deal with sometimes. And if you have a whole lot of people like that, it can get a little bit overbearing too, especially if it's one of your first bands. It's a lot to deal with, a lot of drama sometimes. Another big thing to think about realistically is how you're going to split the money. If you have 7 people in a band and you have to split a few $400 between 7 people or $400 between 3 or 4 people, it's a lot less ways to split things. So that's a big part of it. A venue isn't going to say, hey, I'm going to pay this much, but if you have more people, well, I'll just give all you guys more. That's not how it works out. They're not going to pay you more because you have more people. You're just going to have to split your end a bit more with other people. So that's always something to think about. That's why smaller bands are kind of nice for that. Okay, after you find a few different people that you might kind of narrow it down to, you want to kind of meet with them first before you just start jamming with them. Meet with them, talk with them about their influences, talk with them about their goals. Like, if you're kind of serious and you're thinking, hey, I want to get together maybe in about 6 months, maybe play some small shows in about a year. I like to have like regular, maybe once a month or so, regular shows at a certain venue, and maybe start recording some stuff after about a year and a half. If somebody else doesn't have the same goals and they don't want to do that, or they don't want to play much, or maybe they don't want to play covers, or maybe they want to do that faster, you need to know that up front. Because if you don't know that and you get in a band together and you start clicking and you start spending each other's time together, then it's going to be a big problem if you find out these things later on. You need to know that up front, just kind of like any relationship, really. So that concludes part 2 of finding a band. So far we've covered in part 1 basics of why you might want to start a band and some band basics. In this episode we covered a little bit more about trying to find these people and trying to find your band and get your core group of people together. In the upcoming episodes we're going to talk about how to get practice schedules together, how much you should practice, how often you should practice, what's the difference between practice and rehearsal, and I actually made a video about that. It's a big thing that can make or break bands. And that's about it for today. So stay tuned, thanks for stopping by, and I got a lot of cool stuff coming up the rest of the week. Next week will be part 3 of starting a band. So have a great day, have a good weekend, and rock on.